What's up? Bill DeWeese here from voice-over-training.org to discuss the dreaded topic of mouth noise. Don't you hate mouth noise? You get done working on what you feel is the perfect project. You've executed beautifully, flawlessly. You're excited about your client to hear this project that you've so artistically and beautifully crafted. And you go back to listen and edit and proof, only to find out that audio is filled with the pops, the ticks, and the clicks of mouth noise. It's like working hard to maintain a beautifully manicured lawn, only to go out one morning and find these ugly, insidious weeds that find their way up through the nooks and the crannies and the cracks, the cement and within the lawn itself, and just ruin an otherwise beautifully created masterpiece. So let's talk about mouth noise, what it is, and what we can do to eliminate it, or at least severely suppress it. While it's probably impossible to 100% eliminate all mouth noise. Well, I shouldn't say impossible. Certainly with proper editing, you can go back and you can do that. But I'm talking about on the fly as you're recording, because you can do just about anything post-production. Although my philosophy is, and I believe it's a good philosophy to follow, is that you want to make sure that your audio is as near perfect and flawless as possible on the front end, to make sure that what you have to do on the back end, if anything, is very minimal, and that certainly includes mouth noise. So, what is mouth noise? As I alluded to just a moment ago, mouth noise, they're those ticks, those pops, and those clicks that happen when we speak. And it's in short just all of the, your tongue, your lips, your teeth, the roof of your mouth. It's all of these pieces of your anatomy coming in contact with each other. And as they come together and smack and pull away and separate, it creates, again, these noises that can ruin otherwise some really nice work. So let's address, what are the causes, first of all? I think it's important to understand the causes before we talk about the cure, so we know how to attack this. There are several things that can cause or contribute to mouth noise. The first, and perhaps the most readily apparent and the biggest cause, would be dehydration. When you don't get enough hydration, i.e. water, that certainly will cause mouth noise, because what happens is the inside of your mouth becomes it's not as well lubricated. It's sticky. So again, the tongue and the teeth and the top of the roof of your mouth begin to stick together when things move around again and come in contact and pull apart. They create mouth noise. So that's the first cause. The second, and another very common cause, is lazy mouth. Lazy not in the sense that you are lazy, but lazy in the sense that your mouth has not yet been trained to minimize mouth noise. In other words, you're not consciously aware of the fact that your tongue is colliding with your teeth and the sides and the roof of your mouth, and again, you're speaking the way that you may normally, conversationally, which certainly you want to do in a voiceover many times, but not to the point of where you're allowing, again, unconsciously, the insides of your mouth to collide haphazardly to create mouth noise. The other reason is going to be dirty mouth. Not dirty mouth in the sense that of your language, but dirty in that there's something else in there, debris that's causing this. It could be extra buildup of saliva. It could be the fact that you recently ate lunch and there may still be particles of food left over from a meal, again, that are kind of gumming up the works, so to speak, and causing excess noise, again, because you have excess debris in your mouth. Last, and probably the least common occurrence of mouth noise, is due to for physiologic reasons, and perhaps you're having trouble physiologically getting the parts of your mouth and tongue again to work properly to allow you to speak without or with minimal amount of mouth noise. So those are the most common causes from my experience. Now let's talk about cures. Now, first of all, there is software, and within your digital audio recording / editing program, your workstation, you may have built-in software that allows you to eliminate or minimize clicks. And there are some very high-quality audio plug-in software programs on the market that allow you to do that. And they work pretty well. I really think that should be a last resort. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you should try to make sure your audio is as pristine and clean on the front end as possible to minimize what you have to do on the back end in post-production. And I have also found through experience that working with software that declicks or tends to minimize the mouth noise, it also can affect the character and the quality of the audio. Sometimes only slightly, but it can still affect the character and the quality of the audio. So for me, software is a last resort. So let's talk about some of the other things that you can easily do. First is you can hydrate. I mean, I mentioned earlier that one of the primary causes of mouth noise is just dehydration. Not that you may not feel thirsty, you may not feel dehydrated, but you may not have properly hydrated your body so that all parts are lubricated. How do you solve that? Well, with the Bill DeWeese signature autographed voiceover hydration bottle. I'm kidding. This is a water bottle that I picked up, I don't know, Walmart or Target. So for a couple of bucks, you can get a water bottle or just take a water bottle, that maybe you keep in the fridge into the studio with you. And throughout the day, now, you don't need to, guzzle down a half gallon before you start in the morning, but throughout the day, I simply take a sip of water. I'm in between scripts, or maybe I've made a mistake and I've got to go back and do another read, another take. I just take a slight sip. Now, again, you don't have to guzzle this. I mean, when I say sip, I mean just enough to wet my tongue. I do this all day long. And over the course of the day, again, it keeps things lubricated and it helps me hydrate. But you've got to drink, you've consciously aware of the fact that you need to drink water, and you need to drink plenty of it throughout the course of the day. And the easiest way, again, I found is just to keep a water bottle in the studio with you. Now, the other thing is really awareness. Many people that I coach and work with, I find that they're simply not aware that they produce a good deal of mouth noise until they go back and listen to their recordings. And oftentimes awareness alone can lead you to minimizing mouth noise, because once you're aware, you can begin operating your mouth in such a way where you don't just carelessly and haphazardly slap your tongue and your teeth and your mouth around to where you're creating so much noise. In other words, when I'm recording a voiceover, I'm very consciously aware of any extraneous noise that I want to keep out of my recording. For instance, this is not mouth noise, but just to give you an example of noise, moving around, simply moving it, if I touch a shirt or even my arm or my chair, without thinking about it, you may be able to hear that, me kind of rubbing my arms against my side. The movement against the cloth of my shirt creates a noise. That's room noise. You don't want that. Same thing with your mouth. If you remember that game that you used to play as a kid called Operation? And the goal of Operation was to take these little forceps that were wired into the game, operated by battery, and you wanted to lift these body parts out of your patient without touching the sides, which were made out of metal. Because if you touch the side of the body where you're taking out the bone or whatever the organ was, it would buzz. Well, much in the same way, if you keep that example in your mind, when you're delivering a voiceover, you don't want your tongue to touch the sides of your mouth any more than it needs to. In other words, you don't want to carelessly just allow that particular organ of your body just to slap haphazardly around. When I'm delivering a voiceover, I'm very conscious that I want to keep all my mouth noise to a minimum, not to a point where it will affect my delivery and my performance. But again, I'm consciously aware of the fact that I'm not overly, slapping things around inside my mouth and creating more noise than is absolutely necessary. Another thing that can help you to eliminate or minimize mouth noise is to clean your mouth. Now, let me say this before, kind of preface this point with this. Not every strategy that you hear, not every technique that you hear works for everybody. For instance, something that works for a number of people, a lot of people, are Granny Smith apples. That tends to help a lot of people clean the mouth and minimize mouth noise. For me, it creates extra mouth noise. Some people brush their teeth, which I certainly do on occasion, but not before I record, because I found that if I brush my teeth in the middle of a recording session, it actually causes me to create extra mouth noise. For me, going back to the water, I just take, if I start to hear a little extra mouth noise, one of the things that I'll do, I'll pick up my water bottle. I take a very Small sip, not a big gulp, just a small sip, just kind of clears things out, and then I'm up and running again with no worries. Now that's one way to clean your mouth. Another way that you can do that is by using this is my voiceover secret weapon. It is Bill DeWeese's signature autographed. Again, I'm kidding. This is the Extra Spearmint Gum. It's my gum of choice. You need to find what works for you. But I always keep a pack of this in here, and I put a half piece in my mouth when I'm getting a little bit too noisy, and I think it requires more than water. I do that for 10, 15 seconds and take a sip of water, and my mouth is nice and clean, and there's nothing in there. There's no excess debris or what have you to create noise. This, I swear by this. Ooh, there we go. I swear by this stuff. Again, whether you use this brand or not is immaterial, but having gum in the studio, again, for me, you've got to find what works for you, but this works very, very well for me. So keep things in the studio, tools in the studio, water and gum or what have you, again, to help minimize it. And if you do all of those things, it should go a long way toward helping you to either eliminate or at least to a great degree, minimize the amount of mouth noise that you have. Now, going back to the idea of practicing and being aware, making sure that your tongue's not flopping around haphazardly. That's, it's it's a practice of building muscle, like lifting weights. And it may feel kind of uncomfortable at first, but as you practice that and become aware of that, you'll find out that you have a little more control over what goes on in here. And you'll find that the mouth noise becomes a minimal issue. I rarely ever have to deal with mouth noise. Now, occasionally, as I go back and I look at audio and I listen, I'll find a click here or there. But it's very rare. But it's because I've trained my mouth not to create excess mouth noise. It's because I hydrate, and it's because I keep my mouth nice and clean while I'm recording. Because after a beautifully recorded voiceover, the last thing you want to have to deal with, again, is the dreaded mouth noise. I hope these tips are helpful to you. I wish you all the best and great success in your voiceover career, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Take care.